Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So we are continuing the story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeating, speaking to, charming, however you want to look at it, Prakasananda Saraswati Thakur. And we had read we read that's an interesting question. And Mahaprabhu said, because he said I couldn't understand it. And Prakasananda is like, you're the greatest scholar in Navadvip and you can't understand Vedanta? That doesn't make sense. Something's wrong here. And so, indirectly, Lord Caitanya was saying, you can't understand it either, because if a great scholar like myself can't understand, what to speak of you? So he then explained that the madness that he was experiencing by chanting was actually the madness of love. Just trying to set this here. Hare Krishna. Was the madness of love of Krishna. Govinda. Was the madness of love of Krishna. So he said, I am experiencing love of Krishna. Yes. Anyway, is that loud enough? He said, I'm experiencing love of Krishna. And when his guru saw all the ecstatic symptoms, he said, amazing. You're there, you've reached it. This is not madness, this is the goal. The goal is transcendental madness. So we're going to continue reading those things. And we're going to start with Kirtan. As usual. And as usual, I'm not prepared. But there's still hope. There's still hope for me, even though I'm not prepared. I'm going to sing your favorite song. It will remind us of what we were singing months ago, if you remember. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And I am playing this in a higher key. It may be hard for you to sing, but I usually sing higher. And I've been singing lower for all of you. It's hard for me to sing low. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Taigo Premanande, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, since today is Friday, you get a song. I am your eternal servant. But somehow or other I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. O Son of Nanda, I am your eternal servant. But somehow or other I've fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. Everyone together. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Shastakam ki jai. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet. Wow. Wow. Everybody say, wow. What a verse. What a verse. That verse is jai-worthy, right? Praiseworthy. Like in a church. Can you see that? 500 years from now, the churches will be singing the Shishastakam in English, big choirs. What do you think? Do we have to wait 500 years? Can we make it happen now? Can you see that? Big choir. Please pick me up and place me. The big organ. As an atom at your feet. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Maybe we can make it happen sooner, right? What do you think? Hare Krishna. Sound is distorted. What about now? Is it distorted now? This is a mystery, ladies and gentlemen. Is it still distorted? Whoa, Haribo. Okay. Is it undistorted now? According to my mixer, it's not distorted, but maybe it is. Give me a yes or a no before I go. Is there a difference in potency between singing with devotion between English and Sanskrit? Very good question. Yes and no. Sanskrit has its own power. But if you read Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, let's say there was a transliteration of Bhagavad Gita, just a transliteration, you could chant it in Sanskrit, you would become purified. But I don't know if you'd become a devotee. So let's just say both. We can chant both. The music was distorted. Oh, why? Why? This is very... What I hear through my headphones. No, I'll have to make it quieter next time. It's very discouraging. I don't have a way to monitor what you're hearing. Maybe I do. Maybe I have to. There's another way I can monitor what you're hearing. Playback. Yeah, I think normally, yeah, I have to do something else. Okay. Now, to answer your question, Achyutananda, the best answer is that it's going to be subjective. And so you can sing it in English and you can sing it in Sanskrit and you can decide, and probably you'll decide. I like to do both. Or some of you will decide that English is English. But you have to sing something. So, and it's nice to sing what people understand, I think. Isn't it? The word Brahman. So I had noted, okay. You sure it's not Vedanta Sutra consists of transcendental words or sounds uttered by the transcendental personality of Godhead? We didn't we read that? Let's read it. I don't remember reading it. We'll read it again, even if we did. Sweeter the second time. So this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining his position to Prakasananda. Like, why don't you study Vedanta Sutra? Vedanta Sutra consists of transcendental words or sounds uttered by the transcendental personality of Godhead. As such, in the Vedanta, there cannot be any human deficiencies like mistake, illusion, cheating, or inefficiency. The message of the Upanishads is expressed in the Vedanta Sutra, and what is said there directly is certainly glorified. Whatever interpretations have been given by Sankara Acharya have no direct bearing on the sutra, and therefore such commentation spoils everything. So these Mayavadis, they're going with Shankaracharya's commentary. That's like the program. So he's saying, if you go with Shankaracharya's commentary, you won't understand anything. Wow, and Shankaracharya is their guru. That's like, generally you don't say those things about another person's guru unless you can get away with it. And of course, Mahaprabhu got away with it. So basically, he just said your guru has deluded you, misguided you. But now he's going to go on to explain how that is so. The word Brahman indicates the greatest of all, which is full with transcendental opulences, superior to all. Brahman is ultimately the personality of Godhead, and he is covered by indirect interpretations and established as impersonal. He is covered by indirect interpretations. And many, not many, but some philosophers have noted that the inclination towards an impersonal God, a God who we would call the universe or energy or everything, nondescript, just kind of a bit amorphous, you could say, but the universe, the creator, but it's not described as a person, like a force, an energy, like it's often said, the universe guided me. It's just a way of saying I don't know who guided me. I don't know who's behind the universe. Is there a person? So people have become very much influenced by this impersonal and Buddhist philosophy. So it's just quite common to say the universe as instead of saying God, say the universe. It's nondescript. You won't get into any trouble. People will still love you. But if you say God, whoa, they may not love you anymore, and you may get into trouble, especially amongst the atheists. And to say the universe guided me, I think atheists might get a little irritated, but not as irritated as if you say the God word. Oh, that can get you, it can get you into trouble. So what was I going to say? Covered. So philosophers have said that when you're dealing with a person, whether he be the personality of Godhead or any person, when you're dealing with the person, persons make demands. Persons, people have desire. Correct? Yes. People have desires. When you go into a relationship, when you get married, when you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, you're thinking, this is going to be beautiful because this person is going to fulfill my desires. The more deeply you go into the relationship, the more you realize it's about you fulfilling their desires, which in some cases comes as an unexpected shock to some, and they decide to get out of the relationship. They weren't, they didn't bargain for that. I thought it was about me, not about you. And the other one said, yeah, I thought it was about me, not about you. Well, that doesn't work, but you know what I'm saying. So these philosophers have said the reason people don't like a personal God, because now you're dealing with someone who's instructing you. You should do this, and then you should not do that. Now, that's a problem, because if God is the universe, it's time for my Gandharva medicine. I should have done it before Kirtan. I have a tired voice. If God is a person, we have a problem. Well, we as devotees don't have a problem. Well, maybe you do have a problem. But for those who want to make God impersonal, the problem is if he's a person, he's going to tell you, do this and don't do that. If he's the universe, then the universe will just kind of reveal to you whatever you think it's revealing to you. And that what it reveals will come in within the context of what you value. God spoke to me, but he can speak many things. God can speak to you and tell you how to do something wrong also, if that's what you want to do. Like Prabhupada said, God is revealing to the criminals how to commit crimes. So it's not that when God speaks, it's all good. He speaks within the context you want to hear. So the universe spoke to me. Yeah, but a lot of times the universe speaks to you just what you want to hear. If what you want to hear is good, that's good. If what you want to hear isn't good, then you're in trouble. But when Krishna speaks, it's not what we want to hear, what we don't want to hear. It's in black and white, so to speak. In Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other scriptures. This is what he said, we know. And then Krishna uses the S word, sharanam. Sharanam means surrender. Ooh, don't use the S word, Prabhu. It traumatizes me. Right? I have to just go and vibrate. So, anything but the S word. No, I've talked about the S word. It's the most beautiful word. Surrender. Everyone's afraid of surrendering. And Prabhupada said, you are surrendered to old age. We think it's like, well, if I don't surrender, then it's like I could do whatever I want. Ha, ha, ha. Do whatever you want? I don't think so. I just saw this on Facebook today. It was so to the point. It was a picture of japa beads, and next to it was supposed to be a picture of 8,400,000 species of life. So it said, here's your choice, 16 rounds or rotating 16 rounds or 8,400,000 species of life. Make your choice. So I don't like surrender. I don't surrender to anybody. Really? Surrender to the 8,400,000 species of life. You surrender to time, old age, disease, eventually death. But aside from that, on a practical level, we surrender to other people. If you have a boss, if you want a paycheck, you better be surrendered. Otherwise, you won't have a job and you won't have money. Without money, you don't have a place to live. You don't have food to eat. So, is a man surrendered to his wife? Is he surrendered to his children? Is the woman surrendered to her husband? surrender to children. If it's going to be a good relationship, they have to. So, the surrender word. Yesterday we said a synonym for love is humility. Well, here's another one, surrender. That's a synonym, or we could say it's a symptom of love. So, but in the illusion that I'm free, and the big illusion that I'm God, if there's a person making demands, that's not fun at all, right? Like if you have a job and you just say, get this done, and they'll let you do it any way you want, that's, I don't want to necessarily say it's fun, because it may not be fun, but certainly easier than someone over your shoulder. Why'd you do it that way? Do it this way, and put it up there, and that one should go down. And they'll drive you crazy, right? So who wants to be controlled? But the devotee, their ultimate goal is to be completely under the control of Krishna. Whatever his whim is, they want to satisfy that. Or whatever the whim of Radha is, Sri Radha. Whatever her whim is, they want to satisfy that. So there's a definite psychological element to atheism or to impersonalism, in that if God is impersonal, there is no one to tell you what to do, and nobody wants to be told what to do, isn't it? And even in impersonalism, what's so interesting is that they use their guru to reach the Brahman realization level, and when they realize they're Brahman, they go, well, I've got the goal, I don't need the guru, I only needed the guru to get me there. So it's kind of like you put a ladder, climb up, get in the window, you don't need the ladder, just... Prabhupada has given, I believe, given that example or similar examples. You worship a deity, the deity helps you get to Brahman realization, and just, okay, you can throw the deity in the dustbin or in the ocean or in a hole, dig a hole, put it in the earth, however you want to dispose of it, or whatever is proper or improper. You dispose of the deity, you don't need it. That's really sick, to be blunt, isn't it? You dispose of your guru because now you realize your guru is God, he helped you realize you're God, you're all one, you don't need him anymore. Wow. Crazy. So there's a fear, a psychological fear of a person, dealing with a person, because a person has desires. The other point Prabhupada makes that you probably well know, or most of you should well know, is in Bhagavad Gita. That we look at the world, we have experience of the world, and then when we think of God, we don't want God to be like the bad experiences of this world. So we stifle our ability to understand him as he is, or we create him basically out of fear from bad experiences of this world. So Prabhupada uses the example, if you've had difficult relationships, if you've been traumatized by relationships, if you've suffered in relationships, then the idea of relationships is something you want to get away from. So the idea of being one with God, there's no relationship, there's no two, no duality. It's just there's a one soul, which we're all part of that oneness. We lose individuality, we merge. So I'm an individual now, that's an illusion of my consciousness. When I become self-realized, I lose my identity and become one. So now there's no relationship, so there's no fear of being harmed in a relationship, suffering in a relationship, because there isn't one. So isn't that interesting? I don't know if you've thought about that. I believe it's in the 4th chapter of the Gita, but it's a psychological reason for being impersonal. I find that interesting. So if someone's impersonal, agnostic, atheistic, obviously there's psychological reasons for it. That may be philosophical or illogical philosophy, in my opinion. They may say it's a philosophical, but we have minds, so there's always a psychological component to decisions. But that's where this fear comes. So everything in the spiritual world is full of transcendental bliss, including the form, body, place, and paraphernalia of the Lord. All are eternally cognizant and blissful. Sounds good to me. Let's go. It is not the fault of Acharya Shankara that he has so interpreted Vedanta. But if someone accepts it, then certainly he is doomed. In other words, it's not his fault because Lord Caitanya, Lord Krishna told him, do this. This is your seva. Bring people back to faith in the Vedas. And he had to teach Buddhist philosophy, but base it on the Vedas, more or less Buddhist philosophy. In a broad sense, base it on the Vedas. So now people believe in the Vedas, but they still believe in this impersonal, nihilistic idea, or impersonal or nirvisesha shunyavad, Buddhism and Mayavadi. So, very similar. He's doomed. Why? Because the only way to be eternally liberated and out of this world is to connect with Krishna. And if you reach Brahman realization, you will fall down because you're a living entity. And at some point you will desire something. So you get to Brahman by giving up desire, but at some point you desire, and when you desire, even if you desire not to desire, that's a desire. Okay, out of here. So you get to Brahman and like, okay, I can't desire anything. No desire, no desire. That's a desire. You have no desire. You have a desire for no desire. Out of here. So it's hard to stay there. It's kind of like that joke I tell when they go to the guru and the guru says, you have 3 questions only. Why only 3 questions? You have 2 questions left. Like that. Kind of like, caught you. I have no desire. I desire no desire. Okay, you're gone. You have a desire. So you reach Brahman realization by transcending. In this process, you transcend by transcending desire, but because jiva, its nature, its very essence is to desire, is artificial process. So you have to be in this kind of state where you don't desire, and as soon as desire comes, you come back down, you take on a material form, and you do it all over again. So that's why Prabhupada's saying you're doomed, because you can't, if you don't connect in your relation with Krishna, you'll never get out of this place. Anyone who accepts the transcendental body of the personality of God as something mundane certainly commits the greatest blasphemy. I think we had talked about this sometimes. I don't know if girls do this. I don't think girls would do this, but sometimes boys, when they're getting angry or they want to put down someone, they'll say something nasty about your mother. And it's like, you can say something nasty about me. You can say something nasty about my sister or brother. And you say it about my mother, that's it. As we say in America, them is fighting words. Let's go. So that's why they say it, because they want to fight with that person and become angry. So your mother is this, your mother is that, or you don't have a mother, things like that. So it's not maybe the best analogy, but there's Krishna. No, there's not Krishna. Krishna just like showed up for 125 years. But after that, he goes, like we all do, merging in Brahman. He was just, one of us who came down. Like, it's just, that's your description of God, basically, is God is nothing. What is God? He's nothing. He's spirit. What is God? He's spirit. That's it. That's it. Anything else? No, that's it. Really? That's like asking, what does your father do? Nothing? No, he doesn't do anything? No, doesn't do anything. What is he? Nothing. Would that be blasphemy? Yeah. or I don't know if the word blasphemy is a common, not really a common word that we use, but for now we'll use that word. That would be blasphemy of your father. Your father's nothing. He's a good for nothing. So basically they're saying God is like, there isn't a God. If I'm God and you're God and she's God and he's God and the dog is God and the cat is God, guess what? Do the math. There is no God. If we're all God, then nobody's God. Not enough students are studying philosophy these days. That's the problem. Because if you study philosophy, you figure a lot of things out. And in previous times, not so far back in history, philosophy was an important subject because it helps you think logically. And because religion is based on faith, it's easy to just let your faith override your logical thinking, and you could end up having faith in some extremely ridiculous things. So, we balance faith and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment. Philosophy without religion, mental speculation. There's no absolute truth. It's just your idea, my idea. Whoever can argue better wins. Does it mean it's true? Not at all. It just means I can argue better than you. Or it means vox populi. It means, well, this is how people think now, and they think my arguments were better than yours. They voted for me, so I guess might makes right. I guess I'm right and you're wrong. That's pretty weird, isn't it? When you think about it. We live in a really, really strange world. We should all be happy when we get out of here, because it's like when we say crazy things are going on, if you look at it from a philosophical perspective, it'll seem even more crazy, the things that people say and believe. Okay. So I'm going to see if you have anything to say about all of this. Shruti Rupa. Well, welcome, Shruti. Nice to see you. At least to see your name. Okay, I'm going down. Down, down, down. I'm down. Krishna Karshni says, I said once that we tend to see God like we see our parents, which could be good and could be bad. Yeah, that's from the world of psychology. They've done some studies like that. I hope you had good parents, because this could be dangerous, right, for your spiritual life. There it is, the title for today's class. Bad parents are dangerous for your spiritual life, because you will see God like your parents, right? Okay, we have to turn this. Wait a minute. Now we just froze. Amazing. Okay. So we can continue reading. Maybe we shouldn't turn this. I had it turned. I just want to have Prabhupada's picture there. Things are not, I don't know why it's freezing. I have no idea. Okay. Help me, help me. Does anybody know? Is it a Facebook problem? Is it an internet problem? Is it a computer problem? Is it all three? As long as you can hear me, we're good. The Lord thus spoke to the sannyasi almost in the same way that he spoke to the Bhattacharya of Puri, and by forceful arguments he nullified the Mayavadi interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra, which is, you have to understand that Mayavadis don't go down easy. This is quite a match. For someone to knock out a Mayavadi and the Mayavadi to accept defeat, that is not an ordinary act. All the sannyasis there claimed that the Lord was the personified Vedas and the personality of Godhead. Wow. These are Mayavadis, and they're saying, you are the personality of Godhead. Not in the sense that we see everyone as God, but actually, you are different. You are the supreme. All the sannyasis were converted to the cult of bhakti. All of them accepted the holy name of the Lord, Sri Krishna. And they dined together with the Lord in the midst of them. So that's a one sentence to describe a lot that happened. But just meditate on this. I believe there were 50,000 of them. Meditate on it. 50,000 Mayavadis become converted, and they're listening to Lord Caitanya speak, and they're probably like this. He's so beautiful. He's so intelligent. He's so attractive. This is like nectar. It was like, it wasn't, I don't think it was entirely just what he was saying, because that was like a fast conversion, a few shlokas, a few ideas of philosophy. And these are hard-hitting scholars. And he's just like, that was it. You guys are finished. It's over. Your Mayavad is over. Wow. Let's, appreciate that this is not an easy task. After this conversion of the sannyasis, the popularity of the Lord increased in Varanasi, and thousands of people assembled to see the Lord in person. The Lord thus established the primary importance of Srimad Bhagavad Dharma, and he defeated all other systems of spiritual realization. Here talking about Vedanta Sutra. Well, Srimad Bhagavatam is just a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So, you don't need Vedanta Sutra, you need Srimad Bhagavatam. And what's the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam? Well, Vedanta Sutra is the summary of the Vedas, but Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripe fruit of the Vedas. And it was the last thing that Vedavyasa wrote. So generally, we would consider that the last thing someone wrote is being written with the most depth and maturity of realization. And so that's the idea behind Bhagavatam. It was written in the most mature state, Srila Vyasadev's most mature state. So we go with the Bhagavatam, not Vedanta Sutra. We can study Vedanta Sutra, but Vedanta Sutra is in the form of sutras that have to be unpacked. So the Bhagavatam unpacks them, and it unpacks the essence. And we don't need all these other things in Kali Yuga. We just need to understand I'm not the body, I'm servant of Krishna. And get out there and distribute books. Or go on Harinam, bring people, open a temple, establish deity. This is what we need to understand. There are so many things Prabhupada did not bother to tell us because it wasn't that important. While the Lord was camping at Varanasi, Sanatana Goswami also arrived after retiring from office. So now we had heard a little bit about Sanatana Goswami. Now he arrives. He was formerly one of the state ministers in the government of Bengal, then under the regime of Nawab Hussain Shah. He had some difficulty in getting relief from the state service, for the Nawab was reluctant to let him leave. Nonetheless, he came to Varanasi, and the Lord taught him the principles of devotional service. He taught him about the constitutional position of the living entity, the cause of his bondage under material conditions, his eternal relationship with the personality of Godhead, the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his expansions in different plenary portions of incarnations, his control of different parts of the universe, the nature of his transcendental abode, devotional activities, their different stages of development, the rules and regulations for achieving the gradual stages of spiritual perfection, the symptoms of different incarnations in different ages, and how to detect with references to the context of revealed scriptures. Okay, you got that memorized? We're not going on until you have that memorized. Okay, now feed it back to me. I want you to, can't look, you have to remember. Okay. So I'll help you remember. Lord Caitanya just basically told Sanatana Goswami everything that you and I need to know. He said, I'm telling you, you write the books. He did the same thing with Rupa Goswami. I'm telling you everything that everyone needs to know, and you write the books and explain it. So, in summary, what did Mahaprabhu teach Sanatan? Everything. So that's easy to remember. Just have to remember everything. And then if someone says, did he teach him this? Just say, yes. Did he teach him that? Yes. Everything we need to know, he taught him. And if we don't need to know it, he didn't teach him. Okay. The Lord's teachings to Sanatana Goswami form a big chapter in the text of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And to explain the whole teachings in minute details will require a volume in itself. These are treated in detail. These are treated in detail in our book, Teachings of Lord Caitanya. Chaitanya, Lord Caitanya, Signor Caitanya, Prabhu Caitanya, Sri Chaitanya. At Mathura, okay, here's another one. There's a place near Vrindavan you all are familiar with where King Kamsa lived. It still goes by the same name, Mathura. Mathura. Mathura, that's how it's pronounced, not Mathura. So I'm going to Mathura. Hey, Prabhu, there is no place called Mathura. Mathura, it's Mathura. And if I tell you I'm going to Mathura, you'll say, where's that? I've never heard of it. Anyway, I'm having fun here with pronunciation. Just, you may, the rest of your life you may say Mathura. Mathura, but it's Mathura. Once I was in Vrindavan, Kostuba and I were in Vrindavan. We were looking for Davanala Kunda. Davanala Kunda is the place, it's a kund, pond, and that place, Mahaprabhu took the fire. Not Mahaprabhu, Krishna, that's where he swallowed the fire. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, wake up. I'm going to sit up. I can think better when I sit up. He swallowed the fire. I just have to look at myself so I know when I'm sitting up. Oh yeah, I'm still in the picture. Okay, that's good. Sit up like a sadhu. That could be a song, right? Sit up like a sadhu. So we went to this sadhu and said, you know where Davanala Kund is? And he goes, where? Davanala Kunda. We looked like 3 or 4 times. Huh? And he goes, oh, Davanala Kunda. Because we were pronouncing it wrong. So if you're ever around an Indian and you're asking a question about something, often if you don't pronounce it properly, they won't know what you're saying. He said, do you make this preparation, whatever it is, but maybe it has a long A at the end or something. You say, Laddu. You make laddu? I'm like, what? Laddu. Oh, you mean laddu. I don't know how to pronounce laddu, if that's proper. But if you don't say it properly, a lot of times, I'm like, you don't know laddu? What? You don't know. Rasgula. Gulab. Oh, yeah. Gulab Jaman. I believe it's pronounced Gulab Jaman. Gulab Jamans. What? Do you make Gulab Jamans? What? Gulab Jamans. You mean Gulab Jaman. It's like, where are my shows? Shows? Yeah, I left my shows. Your shows? You left your shows? Yeah, I left them outside. Oh, you mean shoes? Oh, yeah. So it's like that. It's just, you pronounce it like English. If they're not used to foreigners, they don't know what you're saying, even though you're basically saying the word. It's not Mathura, it's Mathura. Long A at the end. Mathura. Anyway, I probably won't even pronounce it properly. But just For the record, I've told you how to explain it properly. Now you do what you're going to do with it. Lord Caitanya appeared in the family of a high caste Brahmana, and over and above that, as a sannyasi, he was the preceptor for all the varnas and ashramas. But he used to accept meals from all classes of Vaishnavas. At Mathura, the Sanodiya Brahmanas are considered to be in the lower status of society. But the Lord accepted meals in the family of such a Brahmana, also because his host happened to be a disciple of the Madhavendra Puri family. So, why is this important? He's breaking through these caste restrictions. As we say in America, flying in the face of casteism. It's like, I don't buy into this stuff. I'm going to eat wherever my devotees invite me. Who's ever chanting 64 rounds a day, I'm going to eat at their house. That's my criteria. Whether he's born a Brahmin or this caste or that caste. When I was in university, UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, I began my university studies there. I thought I wanted to go into anthropology because I thought it would be nice to be outside digging up bones, digging up artifacts, and getting paid for it. That sounds like fun. You don't have to sit in an office. You can go out and dig. I like being outside, moving my body. Probably the main reason. I don't know. I just didn't want to be in an office. And so in one class, I remember this clearly. I actually brought my friend to this class. He wasn't in the university, but you could bring people in. And he was joking about this. So the professor was talking about caste pollution. Caste pollution is if someone in your caste does something which is improper, your whole caste gets a downgrade. Your whole caste is polluted. And so I don't remember the details, but it seems like somebody's keeping score on what caste is where, and it can change, and they didn't have computers then. But someone was keeping score. Oh, someone in your caste was drinking alcohol. Okay, your whole caste has been downgraded, and now you're lower than us. Now we're higher than you. It's kind of interesting, right? Talk about caste consciousness. It's like a game. They're keeping score of who's doing this activity, which is called polluted. So he described what would be a polluted activity, like drugs, alcohol, illicit sex. And it was a class on Friday. And so my friend after the class turned to me. He goes, "Let's go out tonight and get polluted." That was his conclusion from that class. How could I remember that? I was 18 years old. That was such a significant thing that he said it. Let's go out and get polluted. And I'm sitting in it, I'm sitting there like caste, because I couldn't relate to it. Like, this is really weird. But we kind of do it also, What university did you graduate from? What company do you work for? What neighborhood do you live in? It's a bit of a status to have a Mac rather than like a PC. Like, PC is like, it's just like for business nerds. But you have a Mac, it means you're creative, intelligent, because Macs are basically the more ideal computers for video editing, music editing, graphic arts, and like that. At least they used to be. I believe they are still, at least from my experience with audio. I would take a Mac any day over another computer, but that is a topic for another class, which I will never give because it has no relevance. But so this whole caste thing's going on, this is like, every day you open the paper and see who's in first place, who's in second, something like that. I mean, obviously, not exactly, but, you have the idea, right? Like what caste you're in. I'm in the Harvard caste. I'm in the Yale caste. I'm in the Oxford caste. Ooh, Oxford. Ooh. And you drive a Rolls Royce. I'm in the Rolls Royce caste. Whoa. Yeah, so something like that. So Mahaprabhu, what is he saying? He was saying, okay, all you Brahmins, guess what? It's Kali Yuga. There are no real Brahmins, so, stop pretending. It's kind of, he didn't say it to them directly, but basically that's what he's telling them. Like, okay, you're born in a Brahmin family. That's nice. Maybe a few of you are actually Brahmins by birth, but you know what? You can degrade yourself, and these Shudras or Malechas can become Brahmins. And who's ever chanting Hare Krishna, who's ever devotee, I'm going to their house to eat. Because eating, Brahmins used to only cook for themselves because you couldn't trust people. Their consciousness, their cooking, you're going to absorb their consciousness. So they would cook for themselves. And Lord Caitanya is blowing their minds by going to lower class Brahmin here, but not only lower class, going to Shudras also, and eating. You're eating the food cooked by a Shudra? Are you kidding me? I would never do that. That's the kind of idea. You can't do that. They're Shudras. Lord Caitanya, no, I'm not coming to follow that. I'm coming to help you understand. That's all bogus. And as we said on Wednesday, Prabhupada had to defend us because people were saying, these Americans, they can't be Brahmins. And Prabhupada said, yes, they can. Guna karma, by their qualities and work, not by birth. It's not by birth. So vehemently defending his disciples and often telling Brahmins, well, you're not that great, basically. Show me your stuff. You're a Brahmin, show me. I'm born the son of the world's greatest wrestler. Okay, you want to wrestle with me? Let's see how strong you are. Well, I didn't say I was going to fight with you. Well, so that's the idea. Because I'm born in this family, I'm automatically qualified. So that was a big problem in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, even up to Prabhupada's time. Even to today, it's still a problem. Some would say, I'm just going to say it, get it out, no opinion. Some would say any restriction put on women to take higher services is in the same consciousness. It's caste consciousness. Some say that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but some say that. I will say that some very Krishna conscious devotees have said that. So it's an interesting discussion. Is that actually true? When you get into the level of women, does it apply? Well, in one sense, there's no argument because Prabhupada made women Brahmins. He gave them books and said, go out, preach. He even told them open temples. So he gave them the papers, certification, go out and do it. Be a Brahmin, no restriction. Be a guru, Siksha guru. So some say Diksha, it's a different thing. All right, whatever. But for the sake of this discussion, we can see, aside from the controversy around Diksha, female, go out, be guru. When Prabhupada said be guru, doesn't mean you have to initiate, but it means you have to instruct, which is more important than initiating. Initiation is not going to get you back to Godhead. It's the instructions of the initiator and the Siksha guru. So Siksha is most important. Okay, let's see if we have an important message. No, it's just reminding me in a half hour, we're going to chant together. Hare Krishna. Okay, so just trying to give you some background information here about casteism. At Vrindavan, the Lord took bath in 24 important bathing places, or ghatas. He traveled to all the 12 important vanas, forests. This is what you do when you go to Vrindavan. The way you worship Vrindavan is you go to the holy places. Pay your obeisances, roll in the dust, pray for strength, pray for mercy, and then you take bath in the holy places, or at least put the water on your head and reverentially honor these places. In these forests, all the cows and birds welcomed him as if he were their very old friend. They recognized him, I guess. The Lord also began to embrace all the trees of those forests. Were those birds, and were they around when Krishna was there? Well, their ancestors were. The Lord then began to embrace all the trees of those forests, and by doing so, he felt the symptoms of transcendental ecstasy. Sometimes he fell unconscious, but he was made to regain consciousness by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. The transcendental symptoms that were visible on the body of the Lord during his travel within the forest of Vrindavan were all unique and inexplicable. And we have just given a synopsis only. Inexplicable, unique, Mahabhav, inexplicable to the ordinary person, even the ordinary devotee. Basically, Prabhupada saying the ecstasy was overwhelming, and so you can't really understand it. Some of the important places that were visited by the Lord of Vrindavan were, okay, you're going to have to memorize this: Kamyavan, Adishvara, Pavana Sharovara, Kundiravan, Seshashayi, Kela Tirtha, Bandiravan, Badravan, Shrivan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Gokul, Kaliya, Radha, Dwadashaditya, Keshi Tirtha, etc. When he saw the place where the rasa dance took place, he at once fell down in trance. As long as he remained at Vrindavan, he made his headquarters at Akrura Ghat. Rasa dance is, of course, the pinnacle. It's very deep, full of emotion. Mahaprabhu is trying to enter the mood of Radharani, certainly that place has aroused that emotion. Sometimes I've tried to see if I can help you understand, get some glimpse. We can't really understand it, but get some glimpse into the emotion that Mahaprabhu is feeling, that Radharani is feeling. Of course, how will we understand? And even if we understand, the emotion is unlimited, so it keeps expanding, so you're never going to really understand. But a lot of things we're going to have to understand through relating it to experiences of this world, although it's not a perfect way to understand, but it gives us a starting point. So we all know that the emotion between a man and a woman is the love or the separation or the anger or the jealousy, whatever it is among the most intense emotions that we've ever experienced. Isn't it? The devotee just wrote me yesterday, and he's 33 and his wife died of COVID. And he was just completely, devastated. Yeah, just devastated. Totally devastated, as you could imagine. So the intensity of love creates the intensity of devastation. The intensity of attraction is based largely on the attractiveness of the person. You see someone as attractive, probably you see them as attractive because there are things attractive to you about them, obviously. So, and to the degree that you're attracted, to that degree, you feel for that person. Your emotion is intensified the more you're attracted. And when people end up divorced, it's because they lost the attraction, or they become repulsed. There's no emotion. So now, that was just a preface to try to bring us to this point. How attractive do you think Krishna is? Well, let's do a little math. Krishna said in the Gita, everything in this world that's attractive equals what? A spark. A spark. Basically an atom, a fraction. All right. Maybe a little more than an atom. 23 atoms. Everything, all this beauty that you see in this world, all the splendor, all the power, all the ability of your favorite actor, your favorite singer, your favorite artist, your favorite musician, put them all together in one room, churn them up into a big kitri, and all of that, it's like for Krishna, it's like doesn't really register. It's like, that's like I could do that in my sleep. You ever see a person who's attractive? Like some people, it's not so common. Well, you can make anyone attractive with enough makeup, basically. But some people are just like, everything about them is attractive. Their body, their face, their eyes, their voice, their teeth. You ever see one of those persons? You're like, oh my God. All right. Put all those persons in one room, the most beautiful people you've ever seen. Churn them up into a kitri. And that doesn't even register a fraction of Krishna's beauty. Okay, so now you've got that idea, right? That being the case, how attached would you become to Krishna? Of course, we're attracted to people for sense gratification, but at least go with this idea. I think it can help us. If all attraction in this world comes from him, how attractive is he? More attractive than all attractive people. Okay. So now, how attached would you become to that person? Well, we hear in Bhagavatam that the mothers in Vrindavan are more attracted to Krishna than their own child. So that at least gives you some idea, because attachment for a child, there is no stronger attachment, I don't think. Well, that and male-female attraction is a different kind of attraction, but it's I would say it's stronger, or it's more profound. Could you imagine someone in your town, on your block, in your little 3-4 block area or square mile, there's some kid you're more attached to than your own kid because they're more charming? I don't think you can imagine that. That is rare, unless your kid is just really a bad person. But considering your kid is normal, loving son or daughter, that's crazy. Okay, so now try to imagine the attachment. I don't know if we can, but I think we can get a glimpse. And then now Mahaprabhu is seeing the Rasastali, the place of Ras Leela, and what's happening. It's that attachment is being like nurtured, like this is the pinnacle of that love. And like, can't imagine. We cannot imagine. And you don't have to imagine, because someday if you're fortunate and you take to this process, you'll be able to experience something. And you don't have to imagine anymore. But until that happy day, you can try to imagine even though you can't. But I was trying to just help you, give you a glimpse. Basically, I just told you can't. And then imagine the separation of that kind of attachment. This person is more dear to you than your own life. It's like when we die, we don't know we die. So dying's not so bad. I don't want to die. No, it's not so bad, because when you die, you won't know you're dead. And you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So, like, I don't want to die, but, I go to sleep tonight, I die. I don't know I'm dead. I'm just gone. Everyone else knows, but I don't know. So yeah, but it doesn't sound so bad. It's like you go to sleep, just don't wake up. You wake up in the womb somewhere, or you wake up in Gokul. So, what was my point? Anyway, yeah. So, more dear, Krishna is more dear than their own life. So when Krishna goes away, he goes away, but they're still alive. So could you imagine you died, but you were aware you died? That's going to be difficult. So it's something like that. Anyway, I don't know if I just wasted your time, or if that helped you, or I don't know. Anyway, that was my best shot at helping you try to get a glimpse of the attractiveness of Krishna and what Mahaprabhu might be experiencing, the intensity of what he's experiencing, because the intensity of the attraction. From Vrindavan, okay, I'm going to see if you have any comments. Comentario. That's Spanish, in case you didn't know. Comentario, right? Estefania, comentario. Hare Krishna. You can try to love somebody else. But if I were you, I would just try to love Krishna. Okay, so now it's time for a debate between what is better, Mac or PC? Now Steve Jobs left Apple, and I have to admit that the computer I'm using is not a Mac. But I have a Mac there and a Mac in my studio. But we will, I get so many people, about the vax. There's so many people talking about to vax or not to vax. That is the question, and all the good and bad about it, and so many people talking about it, and that so many people sending me this talk, listen to this and that. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we were supposed to be reading Bhagavatam. Like, what's going on here? Let's imagine if Prabhupada were here. He'd be like, why are you all meditating on vaccines? Oh, one realizes they're dead. Yamadutas coming. I wasn't thinking the Yamadutas were coming for you, Shruti Priya. Yeah. Sometimes you have these plays, and the people die and then they realize they're dead because they've gone to hell. I don't know. As I've understood it, it's in a subtle body. Stephania, you can write me. Or just ask the devotees where to write me. It's the same email before, or Facebook. Stephanie is my long-lost daughter who's returned. Yeah. She had to experience life a little bit. Right, Stephanie? Stephania. She had to experience life. Okay, we have a little time to read a little more. Yeah. Life is difficult, isn't it? It's hard not being Krishna conscious. That's what I can say. Thank you, Stephanie. You disappeared. You went off. I cannot emphasize the importance of having a good family, good husband, be a good parent, like being stable emotionally, being emotionally mature. It's so important. It'll help you so much in your Krishna consciousness. Oh yeah, near-death experience. Well, you can find out the last point of their life. I'm getting off track here. If people want a glimpse into what we experience immediately after death, there are organizations who study near-death experience. Yeah. We met a guy on Sankirtan. Some devotee met him, and he said, I saw these Yamadutas. He saw the cover of Bhagavatam. Yamadutas taking a Jamil. He said, I saw them. Whoa. But I was thinking, for a devotee, you take birth in the womb of a gopi, and then, you don't really know where you came from. There you are. You wake up and you're dancing. You're going out herding the cows with Krishna. At least that's my aspiration. When you read about the Mayavadis becoming Vaishnavas, it is because the disciples requested Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to convert them. No. He didn't request them. They were just curious, who's this sannyasi? What's he doing? Why is he dancing? Okay, let's bring him over. We'll ask him. He's so beautiful. We want to talk to him. He exhibited his effulgence and his beauty. Prabhupada said his beauty is his weapon. And Prabhupada, I think, maybe some of you remember, because I haven't read this story in 40 years. But I remember Prabhupada said he converted him by his effulgence. By his humility, it was his beauty, his humility, his effulgence, that's what actually converted them, more than what he said. Like I was saying, they were just enamored. So they were just talking to him to find out, what's going on? And Lord Caitanya was like, okay, I'm going to convert you. That was his plan. That wasn't their plan. So Maya's asking, if someone leaves their body while sleeping, there's difficulty remembering Krishna, isn't it? Well, that's a very good point, Maya. So the moral of the story is, we're not planning to remember Krishna only when we die. I'm not very serious, but when the doctor tells me I have a week to live, then I'll become serious. Well, if you get in an accident and die immediately, there's no warning. So the idea is, Prabhupada's point, is you don't have to worry about all these things. Just be Krishna conscious now. And Krishna will take care of you. Prabhupada will take care of you. That's the idea. I was just listening something last night that I really, really liked. It was about the mind and how the mind works. And we all know how the mind works. But what gets in our mind becomes a reality for us, right? You get the seed, you get the thought, you get the desire, the attachment, or you get the vision to create, or you get the negative. I can't do this. I'm no good. Whatever it is, I'll never be successful. You get this in your mind, then it starts to manifest. And sometimes they say thoughts are like seeds and they sprout, or thoughts are things that manifest. That's true, right? Because we can't do anything if we haven't conceived of it, right? So you conceive of it, and then you do it. And what you can't conceive of doing, you don't try to do, because you can't conceive it's possible. And so a lot of people don't do things not because they can't, but just because they think they can't. So when you study the mind, the kind of conclusion is that when you understand how the mind works and how reality becomes created from our thoughts, then you think, okay, I shouldn't have any thought other than what I want to create. I shouldn't have negative thoughts because it creates a negative reality. And some of the reality is created physically in the body or in the heart, contaminates it. So the idea is we're always creating a certain level of Krishna consciousness by how we think, and that's directing our action. So knowing that, the idea is that I should be so engaged in sadhana and service that only Krishna is in my mind. Even if I have to think about other things, it's always Krishna is always there somewhere. So the idea for a devotee doesn't think, okay, am I going to think of Krishna at the time of death? Devotee thinks, am I thinking of Krishna now? Because if you're thinking of him now and you're practiced to do that, then you will do that at the time of death. That's the idea. That's the way we're supposed to think. The other system, some people, in India, when a young man gets interested in Krishna consciousness, it's common the parents say, wait till the end of your life to do that. This is like, now you need to go to school, get a good job, get stability economically, get married, raise a family. And then when you retire, you can do spiritual life. So that idea is kind of like, we'll do everything we have to do materially, and then when we're older, we can start preparing. But Bhagavatam's idea is you prepare immediately. That's why Gurukul is so important. And so, the parents think, it's for later in life. Like what instruction in Bhagavad Gita is not applicable to anyone in any state of life? That doesn't make any sense. But they're just afraid their son's going to renounce. So I understand the fear. And a lot of the men who renounce are not actually able to do it. And so it does create a problem materially for many of them, or some of them. But it's not that it's irrelevant. But so the idea is, Maya, whatever you put in your mind is going to manifest in some way. So knowing that, you want to have service in your mind. You want to be thinking of the philosophy, contemplating it, discussing it, thinking about what you're hearing. So you want to hear enough so you have enough to think about. And then don't worry about the time of death. It'll take care of itself. And Prabhupada said, if you forget Krishna, he won't forget you. If you've given your life to him, you forget him, he'll remember you. So we have that faith. So don't try to buck the system and think, well, I may be a nonsense now, but when I'm older, I'll, and I don't want to die in my sleep because I may forget Krishna. But if you're thinking of Krishna always, not a problem. Krishna will take care of you. Shruti Priya says, when we dream about the spiritual masters, is it possible that you meet in any other dimension or just the mind working? It could be, yeah. Especially if Prabhupada's coming to you and giving you some very relevant instruction, or your spiritual master's coming, giving you very powerful, relevant instruction. Then it doesn't matter if it's your mind or real, because it's absolute. So it's always real. Any dream I have ever had with Prabhupada in it, when I woke up, it was just like I had been with Prabhupada. It was very, very blissful. So that's the idea. It doesn't matter if the instruction's good. I just, because it's absolute. So we can read a few more minutes. That's okay. Don't wait till the end of your life to try to be Krishna conscious. Do it now. Another reason to do it now is Prabhupada said, but you don't know when the end of your life is coming. And another thing that Prabhupada said was, when a man said, you shouldn't do this when you're young, you should do it when you're older. Prabhupada said, well, old means close to death, right? That's generally how we understand an older person is closer to death. So Prabhupada said, well, are you certain that these boys aren't closer to death than you, that you'll live longer? Are you certain you won't die before them? We're not certain. We don't know. I mean, generally, you can make a prediction, but it's not certain. So the idea is, as soon as we find out what Krishna consciousness is, and we take it up, it's like, okay, that's it. This is true. If it's true, I do it. That's the point. If it's true, do it. And don't wait till it's too late. So our philosophy is Komara Acharet Pragyo. This was Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj instructed his kids. The kids are saying, we're too young for this. He's like, no, you're not. You don't know how long you're going to live, so how can you say you're too young? Do it now. Okay. So let's read. We have a few minutes. Read one more thing, maybe? From Vrindavan, his personal servitor, Krishnadas Vipra, induced him to go back to Prayag to take bath during the Magh Mela. The Lord acceded to this proposal and they started for Prayag. On the way, they met with some Pathans, amongst whom there was a learned Maulana. Pathan means Islam. The Lord had some talks with the Maulana and his companions, and the Lord convinced the Maulana that in the Quran also there are descriptions of Bhagavat Dharma and Krishna. All the Pathans were converted to his call to devotional service. Wow, this is so amazing and beautiful to read, isn't it? Because at least, I don't know if you think this way, but when I look at the world today, I think, how will these people be converted? Of course, it's not like our goal is just to convert people. But it's interesting and inspiring that they were converted. Of course, Mahaprabhu can do that because he's Mahaprabhu, so why not? But this was his program. He was converting en masse. So that is, I think, a good way to end. I find that very inspiring. Of course, you say, well, he's God. Of course he can do that. Well, you know, it's not actually true. Even God can't convert a person who doesn't want to be converted. So, Hare Krishna. Okay, it's time to go. I will see you in Japa class if you would like to come. And Hare Krishna to all of you. Nice to see you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.